the assistant director of the Oregon Screams Horror Film Festival, the fall 2022 season of which will be screening on October 22nd at the Sunshine Mill Winery and Drive-In Theater in the Dalles, Oregon. So for all you horror fans who have wanted to experience a drive-in theater, it's going to be a fantastic, crazy atmosphere. You're going to get scared. You're going to roll up your windows. You're going to lock your door. It's going to be crazy. I'm here today with two talented screenwriters, Patrick Joseph Mediate and Aaron McLane. They have collaborated on a screenplay called The Unwrapping. So guys, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, glad to be here.
What is The Unwrapping about?
Oh man, what is The Unwrapping about? So in short, it's about a set of twin brothers, James and Omari, who devise a plan to rob an elite Victorian family under the guise of a 19th century mummy unwrapping ceremony. So these were actually big, very real things back in the 18th, 19th century.
Wow.
But when they do that, they basically unleash hell, and an ancient incantation brings the mummy back to life. And of course, as you can imagine, once that happens, it's it's all bets are off.
Right, and like, who would ever expect to be cursed by a mummy, right?
Exactly, right.
Oh, that
But it's a
sounds awesome.
fresh take. We're
Disturbing the
kind of
dead.
thinking.
Yeah, totally.
Exactly.
Well, I love that. That's such a unique premise. You're working in a period setting. Are there any challenges that you guys have faced with really fully encompassing, embracing that setting?
Yeah.
We have, because like it's been, you tell people about it. A lot of people have that period and what was actually realization, and people, all the treasures from Egypt, mummies to use in their snuff box, sorting mummies.
I think
so. Like,
Aaron,
when you
you're
tell them
breaking
this is a real thing, so real.
Yeah, you're breaking up a little bit, but like, yeah, to Aaron's point, it's kind of a little bit of a creepy, real life thing, that used to happen. So it's, I think, riffing on that and understanding that the reality of what rich elites used to do back then, back in the 19th century, is just kind of makes it even more scary. I think just the premise and the idea of an unwrapping ceremony anyway is scary. So when you add like that surreal horror element to it, it just enhances all that as well.
Oh, that's fascinating. I mean, that sounds so crazy, like a very exciting world to be thrust into for a horror screenplay. I'm wondering, what kind of influences did you guys have to creating this?
Well, Aaron was, I know Aaron might break up just a little bit, but he was at least my main influence initially. He came to me with the idea. He basically said, "Hey, did you know they used to do these things in the early 19th century?" And it just blew my mind. And he came to me with the rough premise of it too, about the brothers and merging the heist film with a horror film. And I thought that was a great idea. So all of the elements coming together, the period element of it, the heist element of it, of course the horror element of it, all just melded really, really well together. And the characters were really, really interesting, right? You've got in this particular screenplay, you've got the wealthy, rich elite, and then you've got the other end of town, right? Mm-hmm. Like they call them the stacks in the screenplay. And it's kind of fun to see the way that these two classes interact with one another when you put them together, especially under the guise of trying to pretend they're one of them. So you've got a lot of societal and class things going on there as well, in addition to all of the period and the horror and the heist film.
Totally. And I want to know, particularly for screenplay writers, when you guys are creating your stories, do you have that final film product in mind? Are you thinking through aesthetic and the approach that's taken in the final realm there?
Aaron, you want to try to take a crack and see if it...
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
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 We definitely do.
We love 80s horror, old-fashioned, like Tales from the Crypt type stuff. Like, what would the audience want to see? And when we come up and we keep an audience in mind of what that final product.
Yeah, definitely. We definitely had like that serial kind of creep show vibe.
Yeah.
The Tales from the Crypt, like the episodic single serving, right, 30-minute self-contained horror film that you can just sit down, digest in 30 minutes and get in, get out. but like be delivered a complete story in a short set amount of time. And I think that was also a challenge for us too. Can we tell a story where Aaron and I usually write features? Can you tell a really, really, on the nose, like succinct story that's a lot of fun, that comes full circle, that develops character, that brings the horror home right in that set amount of time. So it's just as much of a challenge for us as it was, envisioning that we ultimately wanted it to be in that kind of exist in that kind of medium, in that kind of world, like the episodic, television
Totally.
serial.
So it was a bit of a departure from your normal writing style to have to truncate it down into this concise format. Did you guys
Very much
learn
so.
anything from this process? Take away any good insights from this?
I mean, I don't know about Aaron, but I think the one thing that I took away was that I I may actually prefer to write short,
Really?
horror, single serving horror, because it's, you could put together a great story, and you don't have to spend, when we write a feature, it takes us 3-4 months, developing characters, 100 between 100, 90 and 110 pages. It's much more in depth. It takes a lot more work, but you can actually knock out a few of these great horror stories, or any real story in a 30-minute,
Totally.
30-page amount of time, and just have a lot of fun with it. So I like the fact that for me as a writer, it allows me to explore a variety of different stories, because it doesn't take as long to put
Right.
together, and it could be very gratifying at the end of the day, when you have something like the Unwrapping come together.
Totally. And who doesn't love horror anthologies? If you put three of those together and you
Oh
got a
yeah.
90-minute, just like, yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
it's classic, it's lovely.
Aaron and I were thinking that it would be fun because, this was actually the second short that we wrote. We were thinking about putting together like a little bit of a wraparound story and doing our
Nice.
own anthology that wraps them all in, that kind of thematically ties them together in some way. With again the wraparound being, the standard like through line story. If you take like Tales from the Dark Side with the kid in the cage and the,
Totally.
the kitchen and stuff, that would be like the wraparound story. But we're playing with it. We're thinking about it.
Nice. Aaron, I'm sorry that the mic's a little off. Is there anything you'd like to say about what you learned from this process?
Find a way to find as in a short amount of time, and a feature pages to explore that, and in the short, you gives you that character and the most before you get to the action of it all, and especially on to get to the action fast. So it was I'm just so
I think, we broke up a little bit, Aaron, but yeah, getting to the action of everything, like really kind of getting into the story, and finding a way to really just hit the ground running with it. That's another thing, that I think is exceptionally fun with this kind of story, is that you really,
Totally.
when you have in a feature, right? Like we're fans of like the cold open, so we usually do
All
like the
right.
first 5-6 pages a cold open. But like in this kind of story, it's like, how can we get in as fast as possible? Pull the audience, the reader, in with
Right.
us, and take them for a ride as soon as possible, because you really only have those 25 to 30 pages. So you've really got to make them count, and you've really got to draw that viewer in all the more quickly into the worlds, into
Totally.
the characters.
Well, that
And I
sounds
think
like
that was
such
also
a
part of the challenge.
well, it sounds like such a fun challenge. Some that you can really like. What is really going to grab people in just instantly? And it seems like you're
Yeah.
constantly having to innovate in that case. Well, it
Yeah.
sounds like a fantastic script. It sounds like you got a great period, great setting, great influence, great focus. Is there plans to put this on the screen?
I mean, we talk about it almost daily, me and Aaron. Yeah, we're going to cross our fingers
Awesome.
there. But it certainly is a story that we created to be, despite the period nature of it, and the fact that there would have to be some minimal period clothing,
Right.
we designed the screenplay to be a self-contained horror film. It takes place in one location, single location for the entire screenplay, pretty much, or one or two locations, but the majority is in a single house. So it's certainly something that's, again, cross fingers, collaborating with someone. Hopefully, we meet through the festival circuit, who would
Totally.
love to come on board with us and help us bring this thing to life. We're really all about it. It's something we really want to do.
Awesome. I would love to see this in film one day. Are there any other projects you guys are working on at the time being?
Yeah, we are. We just finished a feature.
Nice.
We don't want to say too much about it because we're gonna hit the ground running with the festivals, including Oregon, of course. I mean, Oregon's one of the first ones we go to. It's a really great festival. We always submit. But it's called the Mayfield Solution. It's also a World War II set psychological thriller, but I guess it would also be very much a horror film, both in the reality and realism of the setting and also the story that we tell within it. So that's something we've just put the finishing touches on that we're really proud of. And then we have another short called Bad Blood, which is a sort of a college vampire story, a little bit of a unique take on like similar to like a Fright Night a little bit.
Right.
That's also completed. So we're play with that too.
Nice. You guys have some pretty great sounding projects in the works right now. Is there anything you'd like to add about the Unwrapped?
Definitely. Let me think. There's. I mean, we covered a lot, but I would love to add that it's super unique. I think like as writers, you're always trying to figure out what you can write and what you can create that hasn't already been told, right? And I think Aaron and I are constantly struggling with that. We are big fans of the horror genre. We're big film fans in general. So we've seen a lot. And it's hard to think of something that's very fresh, very unique. But we really feel like with the Unwrapping, it is extremely unique. It's a story that's never been told, especially, like we said, about the true nature of, unwrapping ceremonies and so on and so forth. But merging the heist film in with that, I think, is a really fresh take on the genre, and I think it's definitely a story that should be seen, and I think it would really attract audiences.
Well, that's awesome, guys. I have my fingers crossed as well. I want to see that one of these days.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me. I'm sorry that we were having a touch of difficulties, Aaron, but I hope Patrick was able to speak both of you guys. Yeah, you were here, absolutely. Well, thank you guys so much, and I look forward to seeing more from you guys.
Great questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great rest of your guys' day.
Awesome. Thank you.